Hi, yeah. Had like a little bit of a story and a question, I guess.
Yeah.
So, recently, at work, we were in a situation where the leadership came to us and asked our team to take on this project to like ingest a new data set. And so we were asking about, like why is this data set important, and do our business intelligence folks know, ultimately like how they're going to use this data to get the insights that they want and that sort of stuff. And the response is basically just trust me, we've already had that conversation, we've decided this is the way to go, and we just need you to do it. And and so, it turns out that they just hadn't had those conversations, right? And so, we were kind of like being demanded to trust senior leadership, which puts us in a weird, you know, position where in the moment it can't just be like, okay, prove it, show show us how, the outcomes of that conversation that you had so we can move forward. But yeah, I was wondering, like what are, I guess, some of the things that you would consider in that situation to sort of resolve someone just sort of flat out asking you to trust them.
Yeah, that's always an interesting thing, isn't it? It's like, oh no, just trust me. Can you think of any more words in the English language that are less likely to actually get you to trust somebody than just trust me? I mean, the because that immediately gives you the perception that there's something you should be looking for that's not there. So one, I would encourage them to uh, not do that. But on top of that, yeah, now you've got a situation where, okay, let's break that down for a second. Uh, do you think they had bad intention toward your group?
No.
Okay, so it's not that. So it's probably not even differing goals.
Yeah, no,
Do you,
yeah.
yeah, do you think that it was a follow through problem?
Maybe,
Maybe. Yeah.
maybe. It may have
Yeah.
been too that they had had, they had had a conversation or more clearly, but none of us had been invited to those conversations, and so whatever questions were asked and answers given were not necessarily the same questions that we would have asked.
And weren't necessarily communicated to you. So there might be a follow through thing there. And then the last one is skills and knowledge. Do you think that they had the skills and knowledge what was their skills and knowledge issue there?
Yeah, I think they definitely had the skills. I think maybe some of the questions that we would ask would have challenged them on what knowledge they already had versus, what they still need to figure out.
Yeah. So in a situation like this, suddenly we have some much more clear conversations to have, right? It's like, oh, how could we avoid this in the future? Because nobody wants to go into a blame game, right?
Right.
It's not about, oh, you did a bad thing in the past. It's about how can we work better in the future. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. So if something like this came up again and we want to work with you and do a good job and those sorts of things, it's like, hey, it seems perfectly reasonable to ask, are there better ways that we can have communication channels? Can we be involved in these meetings a little bit earlier? And hey, um, here are some areas that we have expertise in that might add to the conversation and get better questions going on. Do you either have somebody in the senior leadership group who has a background in that stuff, or would you like us to support you on that? Those sorts of things are probably, I mean, just off the top of my head, uh, some of the ways that I'm like, oh, okay, this might be a way to go forward on that and start rebuilding that a little bit. Because what none of us really want is for that to fester, right?
Mm.
Because the end of that is we can't trust senior leadership. What are we going to do?
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you. I like the sort of approach of breaking that down on those facets of like which part of this do I not actually maybe trust them on, and how can we dig
And then
into
how
that a
can we
little bit
work
more?
on that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you.
sure.